These fans are excited. We want it. We're thirsty for it. We're hungry for it. And speaking of which, I want to get some of them up here right now. So, Josh, I know you got to go in a little bit. Hop on up, man.
How you doing, Josh?
Oh, just peachy. It's great to see you all. Big fans of the DMV mess hall. You all do great work. So, it's great to see this setup here today, gentlemen.
Well, we appreciate you coming out, man.
Definitely.
And saw that you're going to be out of camp today. Appreciate you stopping by. I know you do a show as well. Where can our listeners find you?
All streaming platforms. I've been taking a break. I just got to say, if you need to take a break, take that break. And that's what I've been doing. But the Kirby on Sports podcast, www.kirbyonsports.com, all streaming platforms, all listening platforms. It's been a blast for 5 years, and all the connections I've made today, you've probably seen me going around talking to everybody, and it's just a lot of fun handing out my business cards and making more connections everywhere I go.
It is. It definitely is. And I mean, we know all the same people. You know, we swim in the same circles. But I want to hear from your perspective. How do you feel, as a fan, once these guys took over, and what's your thoughts on this season, specifically this season?
Well, once they took over, I feel like myself, along with the rest of the fan base, more of a sigh of relief, if you get what I mean. And like that hope, like that light at the end of the tunnel is, so to speak, like the Commanders are turning the page, getting things going. We could finally see a good football team here who could potentially win a couple playoff games. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but I think the new ownership is in the step in the right direction. So this season, I mean, looking at Chase, I know we've had a lot of conversations about Chase and how he's going to look, how Sam Howell's going to look, but I feel like Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy, I loved his energy out there at training camp today. But I feel like the right coaching staff is in place. I will say that Ron Rivera, I think he might be on a short leash this year, just based on what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. But I think overall it's going to be a decent year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think big strides are going to be made to see where this Commanders team will be headed moving forward.
So I got a question for you. So as a fan, what are you most looking for this year? As a fan, not from the football side, but just as a fan.
As a fan, I'm hoping more fan-friendly, like Commander stuff. Like this training camp was amazing. I'm going to be coming to a lot more fan-friendly stuff. Hopefully more content creator stuff too, because last year, I'm not sure if you were there, but the draft, they had like booths where people could set up, bringing players around, so on and so forth. So stuff like that. I feel like the new ownership and Jason Wright, I talked to him for like 5 minutes today. I was like, you don't get that with any other team president. I mean, I would think, but he took his time. I was like, man, you're doing great work. What you did for the content creators, and just shared my work with him and everything. And it's just so great to see. So more fan friendly stuff like that. I feel like that would be amazing to see.
No, agreed. There's definitely a lot of stuff going on. I missed that last year actually 2 years ago during the draft, because I was doing a charity event at the stadium. But if today shows you anything, they are wanting to welcome the fans back. They're trying to give us outlets. I mean, I was laughing and joking with, was it Sherry Burris that we saw today?
Sherry Burris, yeah.
Sherry Burris.
From NFL Network, that the draft day party at National Harbor, the credit card machines didn't work. And you have a merchandise tent and people cannot buy stuff.
And no one carries cash anymore.
No, because most places don't take cash.
Yeah.
But it's like those little small things today where they had a massive tent. It felt like we were in Richmond without the good barbecue. I mean, from a setup perspective, they had the massive tent out there. They are making the investments to make fans want to come back and spend money.
Yeah.
And that is something I'm excited for, because to me, that money is going to go back into other things that is going to want players to come here.
Yeah.
Facilities, things like that. And hearing, Magic was a player, granted, different sport, but he knows And Joe Gibbs was a huge proponent of this. If you make the players happy and don't have them want for anything, then they will perform better.
Definitely.
And to me, it's the same thing for this fan base. If you keep us fat and happy, then eventually the wins will come.
Yeah.
You can't control the wins right off the bat as a new ownership group, but there's other stuff within your purview that you can affect. And they're trying to do that now.
You know, today out at Ashburn, let's face it, we all watch NFL Network. And when you watch NFL Network and they go around the different teams, you see that that's a true training camp. If NFL Network was out at Ashburn today and they pan that camera, it would make you feel as though you're at a true training camp for the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
The vibe was there. It was a training camp vibe.
Absolutely.
More so than ever before.
Thing is, I mean, how do we know? Because it's never felt like that.
Correct.
I've been to training camp for 2+ decades. It has never felt like that. And I don't go to Fan Appreciation Day just because I don't want to deal with the traffic.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to be amongst everybody. It's just a lot of people and it's on a weekend. And I'm not going to go this Saturday because they're expecting 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, they're not calling it Fan Appreciation Day. What exactly are they calling it?
It's back to football day or
Oh,
something
okay.
like that.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been asking me, I don't see where it says Fan Appreciation. They're not calling it Fan Appreciation Day. They're calling it something else. But nevertheless, it is happening this Saturday. This Saturday is when it's happening. So
Back Together Saturday is what they're calling it. And I think that's an NFL thing.
okay.
But I know you've been to training camp before. I mean, just your thoughts on how practice was run.
Well, yeah, what you mean from a coaching standpoint, like on the field? Eric Bieniemy. I mean, just his energy, his intensity. Like there was a miscue or something. He's like, "Get off the field! Get off the field!" He said it 3-4 times. I don't remember the exact instance on what happened, but his energy. I'm like, oh my gosh! But just looking from afar, it looked like the players were in it. The coaches, I didn't really see Rivera much, but Eric Bieniemy, he just stood out to me. He was like, "Get off the field." That energy, if that keeps up throughout the season, I think this offense might be kicking into another gear with him and his style, because he only expects the most out of the players. And if the offense is not going to give their best to the coaching staff and Eric Bieniemy, they might have to take a seat.
So speaking of Eric Bieniemy, him being the assistant head coach, I'm big on this question. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. And I ask everyone this question.
Okay.
When is the last time that the Redskins, Washington football team / Commanders have had an assistant head coach?
I can't say off the top of my head.
No one can. It's been a long time. Now, we talked to EB from the Junkies, right?
No, that was Grant Paul.
That was Grant Paul.
Yeah,
My bad.
I tell EB you said
My
that.
bad, brother. Hey,
He'll be pissed.
my bad. My bad. But Grant, I asked him and he had the same response. And then he thought about it and he said Joe Gibbs. And so Joe Gibbs, and I said, well, we don't know if it was Joe Gibbs 1 or Joe Gibbs 2.0.
Yeah.
So, but the fact is, he is the assistant head coach, which speaks volumes to me because.
Okay, I'll tell you who it was.
Okay.
It was Joe Gibbs 2.0, and it was Greg Williams.
Greg Williams.
He was the assistant head coach.
Okay.
And I can see that because, granted, I really feel that if this franchise, if Snyder would have let Greg Williams be the head coach after Joe Gibbs, then we would have had a better trajectory.
Okay.
That we would have not had so many years of just losing and everything else.
Having to
because,
start all over again. Yeah.
Greg was a good coach. I mean, he'd done fantastic stuff with the DC Defenders and their defense and everything else.
Right.
But yeah, Greg Williams.
Okay. Well,
is
that
the
answers
answer.
that question then, finally.
So, but I'm right there with you. But Josh, I want to make sure we get to some other fans here. One last thing. Give me a bold prediction. What's Josh Kirby's bold prediction for the Commanders this year? It can be on the field. It can be off the field. Just give me something.
Ron Rivera gets canned if they don't win more than 3 out of their the first 3 out of their 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's gone if they can't get off to a very hot start. And I think Eric Bieniemy takes over.
Okay.
That's my bold prediction. And I mean, maybe I see Ron Rivera more in this stage as some guy who runs in the front office doing stuff. because it seemed like last year he was doing everything. I heard the press conference where he said it feels good not to be a manager.
Mhm.
So we'll just have to see if he's actually focusing on just the football field, because all that other stuff that we're gonna forget about. He had to deal. He had to deal with that in a way. Let's not get our minds
Going through his
twisted.
cancer treatments and everything. Yeah.
That too. But I mean, with all that stuff piling on, he had to answer a lot of non-football related questions,
Mhm.
and he's getting back to football. So I feel like, though, and I'm hearing this all around from different people I know, different connections. If he does not get off to a hot start and the Commanders are like maybe 3-5, 3-6, something like that, I feel like he's gone.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that was my prediction a couple weeks ago, that I don't think Ron's going to live out his contract. His teams historically start off slow and then end up picking up a little bit of steam. And then we usually go, 7-8. And then somehow we managed to go 500 last year at 8-1. So he is not managing the offense. He's not managing the defense. He's not really general managing the team because we've got the Martys in place. So what is he doing other than taking a paycheck? And I think that he will be let go in the beginning of the season. And Eric Bieniemy finally gets a shot to see what he can actually do, because you heard it. Sam Howell says he has total control of Eric Bieniemy's offense. And Ron didn't really do much today. I'll be out there for 4 or 5 days of training camp. I'll be curious to see what he actually does, because he didn't even know that we could get kicked out of the playoffs last year.
That was terrible.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrible.
That was terrible.
And I tell you what, I bet that Cleveland was going to beat Washington because he put Carson Wentz in.
I'm fine with the Wentz decision to have him play, because you had $28 million wrapped up in
On
him.
the table. You
and
had
to find out what he had in him.
Yeah.
But he rested his hat on Carson Wentz. I'm the guy that looked at the tape and the bleeping analytics and everything else. And you know what? Didn't work out.
That was after a win, too, against Chicago. Against Chicago. And he gets pissed that they're talking about Carson, and he just stormed off after a win, too. That says a lot.
But I'm not a fan of his. He knows I'm not a fan of his. I'm very public about it. And I hope for this fan base that I'm wrong and that you're wrong, and that he does well, and that the Hogs have a tough decision to make on, do they extend him? But he is a lame duck coach, and typically lame duck coaches get canned. And I made a comment on Fox 5 last week, said that he's a dead man walking. And I got so much crap for that, because of fans saying, he came back from cancer and this and that. Like,
true, he did.
Yeah, he did. Get your panties out a bunch. Yeah. Right. He's a dead man walking because his track record is he starts off slow. He does not have a winning record as a head coach, period. He has won 3 seasons as an NFL head coach. He luck boxed his way into Cam Newton. I almost want to say that Steve Spurrier could have coached Cam Newton to 15-1. So we can see what he does with his team. But for the longest time, Eric Bieniemy never got credit for his offense. It was always Andy Reid. If this team does well offensively, it ain't going to be because of Ron. It's going to be because of Bieniemy.
Yeah.
So other than Ron already being paid and coaches' contracts being guaranteed, he should be gone in my opinion.
Well, it starts September 10th, and that'll be the new day that we see what this regime is going to do. Jeff, we appreciate you being on the show with us, man.
Appreciate you. Keep in touch. Keep on doing what you do best. Y'all do great work. Thank you all.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for coming, man.
All right, Mello. Let's get you up here, brother. We got DJ Mello T coming up right now.
That's right. The Mellow Slide.
What's going on, fellas?
It's good to see you, man. It's good to finally meet you in person. I've heard so much about you. And then Rally did the Cowboys home rally at my boy's restaurant.
Right.
You guys seem to have a blast there. I'm hoping we can, make that a ritual.
Absolutely.
Back here in the DC area. And just glad you're able to make it out of here to the brewery and hang out with us today.
Something to think about, Rally. That's a good idea. Oh, by the way, same sentiments to you, Ted. I'm finally glad to meet you. Heard good things about you from Rally. Knew about the show, knew about your podcast.
I'll Venmo you later, man.
But here we go. My man. So I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And you too, my man, Rally Captain right here. So it's a good look, y'all.
Appreciate you coming out, man. It means a lot.
I'm here, baby. I'm here.
So What were your thoughts, man? Have you been to training camp in the past? When's the last time you were at camp?
Oh, absolutely. Multi-years. So I ran in a rally cap over the years, even down in Richmond a couple times. Back in the day back in the day. But I pick my spots and pick my, I choose my times based on what I got going on in the other life, this crazy business I'm in.
What would you say is one of the biggest changes since you've been to other training camps? What would you say was one of the biggest changes from the other training camps to today's training camp?
Oh, gotcha. Good question. I would say the renewed feel of enthusiasm and the air it's a different air. It's a new air. You can just walk right through it. You can just see it, man. And it's like a renewed sense of let's get it. We here, we can breathe again. That's what I feel. I feel like the fan base is feeling that same, across the board, the landscape. I was looking at them very intently about when we were together earlier. And I was really looking at the faces, and I was looking at the whole thing, the camaraderie, the new, just like I said, it's a renewed sense of, we got that cloud from over our head. Let's get this thing cracking. That's what I feel.
I'm right there with you. I mean, our listeners obviously hear Rally, they hear me, they understand, that from an energy perspective, we kind of have our feelings, but from your standpoint,
yes,
you felt it today too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking to executives standing along the sideline, telling them, I have never seen a weekday. It is Thursday at 9 a.m. when most people should be at work, right?
Most people.
It was standing room only. Those bleachers hold 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So there were at least 2,000 people there, not to count all the other fans lined up behind us, standing in the typical spot.
At least 3 deep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At least plus the other section on the other side of the field that was full there. I mean, this is just, it's unreal. And someone put on Twitter that this fan base is a sleeping giant that is ready to wake up.
Yes.
And if today does not show that, then you must be Stevie Wonder and you're blind.
Oh yeah. This isn't the 1999, 2000. This is 2023.
Exactly.
And like you said, we're ready to roar. Prince said it all.
Yep.
You sleeping giant, he got a line in his pocket. We're ready to roar, man. We really are.
So I want to ask you this question.
Yes.
I feel it's going to take a couple of years.
Right.
And the Harris Ownership Group is saying that, there's 31 other NFL owners. They're trying to do the same thing.
Right.
This fan base has been dying to win for over 2 decades.
Gotcha.
We're in a honeymoon phase right now.
Right.
How much time will you give them to actually get this thing back on track?
As far as a Super Bowl appearance?
As far as winning again, as far as being in the playoffs.
I actually think that we can hit the playoffs this year.
This year?
Okay.
I do. I was watching the squad intently, the squad last year. And, both of you guys are hardcore fans like myself. So, y'all are very intent with the goings-ons and of the mechanisms, who's doing what and who ain't doing that. I really feel as though there are some extremely talented pieces that have been implemented on this team that are now going to take shape with the addition of Sam Howell, because he is a sleeper. I'm telling you, he is a sleeper. And the kid can ball, and he ain't scared. That's the most important thing. He's not scared at the moment. That's what I look for, especially in a quarterback. And he can do it all. He doesn't know it all. Of course, we all know there's room for improvement. So to answer that question, I'm going to give it to you. They can hit the playoffs this year. I don't know how far, but the sky's the limit once you get there. And if you hit your stride, who the heck knows what's going to happen? But I give them a shot to go in. And if not this year, not too far behind. Trust me, they're just that talented, especially if the defense shows up. A lot's going to hinge on Chase Young as well. This is a make or break year for him. He's going to be good or he's going to be out of here. That's it.
Well, Mello, I liken Sam Howell to Neo from The Matrix. And did you watch The Matrix?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so in the beginning of The Matrix, they didn't know, was he the one?
Right.
Or what did he turn out? He turned out to be the one.
Yeah.
And so that's how I view Sam Howell right now, as Neo, because He basically right now
Right.
against Dallas,
I like your analysis, by the way.
against Dallas,
Yeah.
he no one gave him a chance, just like Neo. But now all of a sudden, the people in the background are saying maybe he is the one.
Exactly.
And so let's just see if he can continue what he did against Dallas in 22 in this 23 season to have your prediction come true.
Exactly. And let's hope that is the case. So Ted, I just don't think we're that far off.
I hear you, but let's just say they don't make the playoffs.
Okay.
How much time are you going to give them before the honeymoon's over?
Not long at all. 1 to 2 year window.
Really?
1 to 2 year. Because you know what they're going to do. That with this new renewed sense of urgency and fan enthusiasm and player enthusiasm, ownership enthusiasm, you can't sit around as an organization and not give the pieces that are needed. You're going to have to bring them because we ain't waiting for that because nobody's waiting.
We've waited 2 decades.
Thank you. So there's no more waiting. So if they missed the boat this year, trust me, it won't be long after it because we're in that phase now. Let's go.
I like the excitement. I like the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I like your prediction. I hope you're right. I just don't think that Sam can do it on his own. I know he can't do it on his own. And the problem is going to be that offensive line. And we saw the offensive line get destroyed today, just absolutely demolished. Sam got sacked at least 3 times if they were allowed to take him to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of balls flew up in the air. But the problem is you can't really see anything because the guys don't have pads on. The guys aren't engaging.
Right.
But we have 4 new guys starting on that offensive line in new positions. And that, to me, Sam can be all world. But if he doesn't have a couple of guys up front that can actually block for him and give him some time, it ain't going to matter.
I like that. Good perspective. If I can respond, may I?
Sure.
That's why you guys were talking about the enemy. That's the enemy effect is going to come in. That's when the enemy effect is going to come in because he is not going to allow that kid to get beat up because what he'll do is put those guys in front of him, the O-line you're talking about, and he will put them in a punishment, bro, because he don't be playing. He will put them in a punishment where they will not want to allow a sack. It's a different guy. It's a different sheriff in town, bro.
I agree with you. Definitely a different guy in town. So let's go back a couple years. Let's go back to 2012.
Yes.
We know that the offensive line in 2012 was not that good,
right.
But what made them look good? RG3's legs.
Of course.
So we know that Sam Howell he's not as fast as RG3, but we saw when he played for North Carolina, the fact that he had scrambling ability and he could think on the fly.
Yep.
So what I see is the same way that the Shanahans did with RG3, rolling him out, playing to his strong suits.
Right.
That's what I see EB after possibly the first game or even the first preseason game or the first actual practice against Baltimore when they really have another jersey in front of him who's playing for something more than just kudos from your boy.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that once that true talent comes and they play each other, EBs will say hypothetically, okay, yeah, we're not where we need to be. So I'm gonna have to figure out some offensive plays to roll my quarterback out the same way they did with RG. So I think that like you, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Especially with him at ship, man. I just feel it, y'all.
I hear you. And I've got that energy. I've got that excitement for Bieniemy. I just wish that they gave him a chance to get some more weapons in this draft. To go first pick and second pick defensive back, to me, was doing a disservice to your new fall offensive coordinator, where you have invested in defense after how many years in a row on this team, and you have not made a true significant investment in offense. You have put in scrubs on offensive line, guys that would not have been picked up by other teams.
Yeah.
4th round picks, 5th round picks in your offensive line. At a certain point, you have to invest in a stud. And that stud they invested in was Cosme, who was a tackle. Now they're moving him into guard.
Yeah.
You know, you can't let the most popular position on your football team because of your past Super Bowl wins be completely neglected like this.
Right.
And they should have gave him some help. And okay, Nick Gates coming in from the Giants.
Yeah.
That's great. But Can he stay healthy? Can he
Exactly.
be healthy? There is just too many question marks at O-line, and we're not going to know until they put the pads on, until they go against the Ravens, until they're actually doing some stuff in preseason. But really, we're not going to know until week 4 or week 5 because of attrition. This is a game that takes a toll on its players. And can these guys stand up and hold up?
Yes.
One of the
Yes.
questions that I like to ask EB, and I don't think it was brought up, and if it has been, maybe you guys can answer this question.
Okay.
Ted, you mentioned getting him some help. How much say did he have in the draft? Do you know?
That's a good point.
How much say? Because he may have said,
That's a
I
good point.
think we're okay.
Well, the linemen, a lot of the top tier linemen went before we picked
Okay.
at that point. So because they weren't there, they're going best player available. But a lot of people say, well, that Emmanuel Forbes was not the best player available. They would rather go on Christian Gonzalez that went to the Patriots.
I agree.
Okay.
But to me, if Forbes fits the system, and I love Fred, but Fred could sell salt to a slug,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the way he talks, he's hyping up Forbes like he's the next second coming of Champ Bailey. But we'll have to wait and see how he can handle today. I mean, I told you, hey, there's Forbes. Watch out. He's turning sideways. You can't see him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the
You got to be
guy's-
talking about smooth.
Yeah. I mean, he's a stick figure right
Yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
I just wish that we had a chance to actually
Yeah.
see what he could do. And because Ron is a defensive guy, I feel that some of that was kind of leaned towards that side of the ball. But you know full well that the offensive line has been struggling for a very long time. And we'll see what happens. And hopefully this camp, we get a chance to actually see, because I talked about this the other day. They constantly love saying iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Well, this offensive line has been going against this defensive line for how many years now? And I'm sorry, that knife is dull. It ain't getting sharp.
We're going to find out when they play Baltimore,
Yeah, we will.
the joint practices.
We will.
Yeah. And I can't wait to actually shout out to well, I hope to be at training camp against the joint practices in Baltimore. My fingers are crossed. I may have a situation where I might be able to attend. So I'll just keep it right there. But if so, you guys are going to see, and I'm going to give these guys a true critique of what I feel. And for you fans, you know that, yeah, I'm an optimist. I want to see the best, but
Right.
if it's not there,
Right.
you're going to hear the real rally. You know,
I'm
so
looking forward to it, man.
yeah, if
I'm
I'm able
jealous 'cause I don't have a pass.
if I'm able to go,
Right.
and I can actually see what they
Right.
look like in pads against another color jersey,
Right.
I'll give you my honest opinion and critique of how far we can go this
Right.
season.
We welcome it. I welcome it.
Definitely. And speaking of welcome, thank
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate it,
Melody.
Melody.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, fam.
Speaking of which, before you go,
Yes, sir.
Are you working on any new projects or anything like that that you can talk about?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. Well, yeah, we have the we will be filming. I think next week actually the continuing footage for my new Commander Stomp song,
Okay.
and which you will be in, of course. You're already on the song, Rally Cap, ladies and gentlemen, and so we'll be doing that. And of course, I have the new song "Let the Good Times Roll" popping out real soon for the HBCUs.
Okay.
And yeah, I got 3 other things I'm working on.
And where can they find these songs?
Oh, absolutely. Everything is going to be, when it's up, it's going to be on all digital platforms, you know, Spotify, the Apple Music, shoot, you name it, Amazon Music, everything. And all the videos will be on YouTube and every other platform. You know, it'll be, you know, DistroKid, everything. So we'll be rocking it.
Nice.
We'll be hitting it. And
Nice.
glad to have you on board that thing too, bro.
Yes, indeed.
Like Ted said, we got to get that thing popping. I like the rally thing about especially them cowgirls.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate you, Ted.
We appreciate you too.
And Rally Captain.
All right now. Peace out, bro.
Yes, sir.
You're one of the most positive fans I know, but there is someone to me that is more positive than you. And I got to ask him to come up here.
More positive than me?
Yeah. Hey, Tim.
We got my boy Tim Meek in the house from Indianapolis. Come on up, Tim.
So it is the first day of training camp. And this man flew. I think he flew.
He
Did
drove.
fly?
He drove.
You drove
He
all
drove.
the way out here
He drove.
for training camp. Put it on.
He drove from Indianapolis.
Yes,
True
sir.
fan.
How
Yes,
long
sir.
did that take you, man?
Okay, the drive from Indy is not as bad as it probably sounds. It's about 8.5 hours.
Mhm.
So with me, a lot of times when I come out here, it's because or how I get out here depends on travel, as you know very well, Rally. There's flights like this time that the timing didn't work out. So I could have got here today, but I'm going to miss camp today. And I have a lot going on out here. I'm visiting some family, going to an Orioles game, playing some golf. So the way the flights lined up, the timing just wasn't going to work. So I drove. Yeah, that's dedication, right?
It is
8.5 hours each way.
That's crazy.
But I do it all the time.
For camp?
I do whatever I got to do to support the team. That's what we
awesome.
do.
It is. It is.
That's
And
what all three of us do.
yeah.
for those that don't know, I mean, Tim, I don't know how you don't know if you listen to the show, or you're a fan of the team. I mean, Tim lives in Indy and he represents Burgundy and Gold. I mean, just through and through. And I was telling Rally before we walked up here, to me, I wanted to do the show with Rally because he is kind of the counter thought to me. He is very glasses half full, whereas I am, it's half empty at times. And
Mhm.
the glass is always full. It is never empty. And that juice is fresh and there is no pulp in there, depending on how you like it. So, I mean, how have you stayed so positive throughout these past 24 years, man?
I mean,
Especially being out there.
it's a long story, but the gist of it is I've been out of market my entire life. So this team, the way I view it, is different than how you guys may view it here. I never attended a home football game until 2012.
Really?
Really. But really what brought me into this community was being at Canton for the Monk and Green
Yeah.
Art and Daryl.
Daryl.
I was there in Canton for that celebration for that weekend. Was the first time in my entire life. And I was in my late 20s, I believe, when I went to that. I'd never been around other Redskins fans at that level. I've always lived out of market where I'll go to a road game in whatever city I may have lived in. You're going to see a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 fans, but we're not all together. I'm not tailgating with those people. I'm not really talking to those people. We're going to high five each other if we're in the same section. And that was about it. So the first time I go to Canton, I'm around thousands and thousands.
We took over.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So you were there. We pull into the parking lot where they shuttle you to the stadium. Right. And those buses were full of Redskins fans, one after another, just shuttle after shuttle. So I step on the bus for the first time. I just gotten there. And on the bus ride over, the very short bus ride over, they're singing Hail to the Redskins as
That's
a
awesome.
group. I've never heard that in my life.
Wow.
Never been around. I was in tears as a young man. I was brought to tears. And the whole weekend was just nothing but tears, meeting people, truly tailgating with other fans, experiencing that atmosphere that we had there because you were so close to the players.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm talking to Art and to Daryl and Fred Smoot. And as far as players from that era, I was talking to Fred Smoot and Chris Cooley and all those guys from that generation. And I was already a rabid fan, but that made me realize this is what brings me to life and it makes me
Energized, yeah.
happy. It makes me most happy. So I need to figure out how I can do this more. So ultimately, like I said, I was still pretty young there. I didn't even have kids yet. I had kids, so that kind of slowed the progress a little bit. But eventually in 2012, I was able to attend my first game. The RG3 year was, obviously that was same type of energy and electricity was brought. And my first time at FedEx, 2012. I thought it's the reason to this day I love FedEx. It was my first. I didn't experience RFK. That's why I love this team the way I do. I've only seen through the lens of losing in the sphere of being at the games. That's all I've ever witnessed. I'm old enough to visually see what happened in the glory years, but during that era, I did not watch them on. They were only on where I lived when it was a nationally televised football game, which was 4 or 5, 6 times a year. Otherwise, I'm sitting at home watching the Vikings play and waiting for the ticker to come across, because back then it didn't scroll 24/7 like it does now. You're waiting for that 15-minute update so I can get the score of the Redskins game. And that's how I grew up watching the Redskins. Highlights, ESPN, reading the newspaper. That's how it all started. And I think that's why my perspective is much different with the current situation, and why I was able to make it through the Snyder era with so much positivity, because I came into it late.
Okay.
As far as being in that atmosphere, in that community, I was late coming into it, not with the fandom, but with being immersed amongst the people.
So do you think that you also, it helped being in an away market? Because here we hear it day after day, hour after hour.
Well, he's listening to the same shows. You
Yeah.
might not live here, but you're streaming the fan and listening to the shows.
But
you're out there.
I think it's different still living out of town versus being here and seeing it. I mean, you can hear about it, but to see it, I think it's a little different, right?
It is different, but what's changed is when these podcasts have
Okay.
started and when these radio shows are now streamed through the podcast systems. No, I didn't know who Kevin Sheehan was until 7 years ago when I first picked up his pod, and he's my favorite person to listen to. But he's relatively new to me compared to you guys. You grew up with him. I had no way of listening to these shows, like you said. So I think when you look at some of the negativity that comes about in the maybe in the local community, it's because it resonated through talk radio, through the newspaper, that I did not get as I was growing up. I certainly get it now. But even in my opinion, I think everybody's pretty level-headed with them. At least the people I listen to. Yeah,
I would say so. I think part of it is living here. Rally and I specifically get crap or got crap because we wore gear, because we went to games. We would walk around the grocery store and I would have somebody ask me what they should make for their wife for dinner because they see me on TV. And then after I help them, they say, oh, and by the way, how can you support that asshole? How can you support Dan Snyder? And I loved what Antonio Gibson said. And today I talked to him at camp. He was playing catch with the fans in the stands along the sideline. That has never happened. I was at Everyday at camp last year. That has never happened. B-Rob running up the sideline, high-fiving everyone.
Yeah.
Just the energy. Everyone just feels better. And yesterday during his press conference, Wednesday's press conference, if you guys haven't listened to it, of Antonio Gibson, he talked about how he would post something on social media and fans would just reply arbitrarily with sell the team.
Yeah.
I'm never coming back until he's gone. This and that. And just that negativity draws you down. So when Rally and I are walking around town, I'm walking in a grocery store. We're hanging out at a brewery and just doing what we do, being you, just being you here locally, we will get crap for it. I literally sent an emotional text to, who was it? Who the hell's our team president? Jason Wright. Saying, Jason, when the time is right, please thank them for rescuing this fan base, giving us our team back, and just making us feel safe walking around again. I have had people threaten me just because I'm a fan of this team, walking down the street, throwing stuff. And I know that's stuff that you're not going to see and really experience unless you're in enemy territory and you're going to an Eagles game, because much like you, I will wear my gear to an Eagles game if I'm playing there. I don't care. I'm sure you do too.
Right.
But that is all gone now. And being in the stands today, you drove here 8 hours to watch a glorified excuse of a practice. They didn't even have shells on. They just had a jersey on and shorts and a helmet. But why did you do that?
For what I kind of hit on earlier, for the community, because I get to see you guys. Okay. I get to see all the other fans that came out today. I get to see so many people that I don't normally get to see. I get to meet new people that I interact with on social media. It becomes a community. For me, it becomes family. I mean, some of my closest friends I've met through this community. And, even beyond that, I get to talk to a lot of the people that I listen to on podcasts. When you're looking at some of the media people, and they're so generous with their time and they talk to you. I got to talk to Bram today for the first, I've spoken to Bram one other time, but he took time out two different times today to just talk ball with me. And you don't get that. That camaraderie means a lot to me. You grow up playing sports and you lose that. Most of us, and we don't play past high school. And you kind of lose that. And to me, that's a big part of my life. And that's a big reason why I came here, is just to be, I don't get anything out of the practice. I don't even know what I'm watching half the time. I try to isolate a guy or two. But truth be told, these guys, we all have opinions for sure. But when I watch Sam Howell, I'm seeing it through a different lens than Eric Bieniemy is. So you got to be careful, like what you're seeing and what you're suggesting and what your opinions might be, because you don't know what's really happening. So for me, it's not so much seeing the team, although that's an awesome thing. That's an awesome perk while I'm here, is to be able to watch them practice, get to see them up close and personal. I'm not like really the autograph guy, but just to be there and see these guys, they're real people, see how they interact with the kids. Terry McLaurin, absolutely amazing, by the way, as was other people. Cody Barton, I don't know if you guys noticed him, stood over there and signed autographs probably for 30 minutes after practice. And it was well beyond just autographs. He was engaging the kids, and that's what it's about. It's the kids and trying to get that next generation that we've lost, because we've lost a generation through all this dysfunction and losing.
At least one.
Yeah, I'm working on two. And we need these kids. And it was, oh my God, I was standing on the sidelines after practice was over, and Terry was over heading towards the exit and had stopped to do autographs. And these two kids that were probably 5 or 6 years old, oh my God, Terry McLaurin's over there. He's signing autographs. Let's go. I mean, they were, that's what made me a fan as a kid. So hopefully players like John Allen and Terry McLaurin, like those types of players, those culture guys that we have on the team now, are going to feed what we've been missing for a long time. And then we add this new ownership group. It's all a culture that's going to hopefully propel us into the next generation, and we all can come together and get along.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, get along and root for the same team and understand we're all on the same team, even if we might have a different opinion on the team, on the name or the direction of the organization. Let's just enjoy the ride, right?
And I sent out a tweet this morning. I was at a red light, car was stopped, it was in park, but I wanted to send it out. It's like, it was 5:55 in the morning. It's like, today felt like, and tell me if you agree, but it felt like the first day of school. I'm driving myself to school at this point, but I'm driving myself out to Ashburn, and I can't wait to be back out there with my classmates, my fellow fans, because we have all been apart from each other during summer break or the off season. And it felt like that first day of school where you get to hang out, and yes, it's school, but there's nothing but fun. Yes, we're sitting out in 90-degree heat. We're not actually doing anything. We're just standing around, but we were just around each other.
Yeah.
And that's all that mattered today. And to me, that's what this season is going to feel like. They will eventually get back to winning. They will eventually make us proud on the field, but we can all now come back together as a fan base and heal from what we've been through, and then enjoy the fact that you and other people that were here have been here through thick and thin. And from my standpoint, welcome back those that left. Rally's still on the fence about that.
Yeah, man. I'm still on the fence.
It's exciting. It's a new day. It's a new era in the energy. I haven't felt this energy from this fan base. I don't want to say ever. Been to 20 years of training camp. I didn't go to the Super Bowls because I was too young. My family didn't have money. We didn't have seats at RFK because we were on the wait list. But I haven't missed a home game at FedEx Field since it opened. And I have not felt this energy, just positive energy. And I'd say 2012, but 2012, we had to win all those games to actually get in.
Yeah.
We lost how many games in a row, and they're basically punting the season at that point. And then all of a sudden we turned it around. But this positivity right now, we always win off the field. We're winning off the field right now, but there's something different about it.
Yeah, good. Agree completely.
Yeah. We're winning off the field, but the positivity is different. And that's the shift that I see. And something to echo what you said, going to the grocery store. I went to Wawa yesterday, and a guy says, I know I've seen you. You're the guy. And I said, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. The miracle, because I had on a Commander's t-shirt.
Shocker.
The fact is, people are getting behind buying the gear. They're getting behind the positivity and the positiveness that this fan base and the ownership has brought. I love it, man. And if you guys can see, I love this shirt that you have on. He's got a Sean Taylor 2004, 2007 shirt on. And that speaks volumes, man. I love that shirt. I really do.
Yeah. Love it too.
Yeah, I wish that they would sell
Other
that
one.
out in the team store. I was telling them and talking to some executives when I was leaving. It's like, put the stuff in there. You know, this stuff, a portion of it's supposed to go towards his family from the
Mhm.
charitable foundation, but you know, it reminded me of I was in the Winter Classic. I organized the fan travel when the Capitals played the Penguins in
Okay.
Pittsburgh, and the Caps beat the Pens. It was a long ass day, and then the Redskins then played the Giants that next morning. So we had to drive home from Pittsburgh so I could just get to the stadium that morning. We're walking through the concourse, hanging out, and we're all arguing with each other as fans. Someone yelled and screamed out, F the Flyers. Flyers weren't playing, but we could all agree on that.
Right.
And then we all just kind of came together. And it reminded me of that Burgundy and Sold party. And I'm sure we're talking early in the beginning of the show. It killed me not to be there. I'm sure it drove you crazy not to be a part of it and seeing everything on social media. But we can all agree that Dan is gone. It is a new era here in Washington. This fan base is rejuvenated. This sleeping giant has awoken, and this fan base is ready. We just need those 53 guys on the field and those coaches to step up because we're right behind them.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely well said. And for me, like the new ownership group is what gets me more excited than anything, because I think I tweet this a lot and I say this a lot is just getting rid of Dan had to happen. That was going to be an addition by subtraction, that alone. But when you bring in a quality group that is large, but made by design, these are smart businessmen, experienced, great with the community, great with revamping businesses, with growing businesses, with turning around businesses. These guys, Magic, Mitchell, Josh, they all bring something different, and they all share the same vision, and they are going to work together to give us the best possible product. And it's going to start by bringing in the best possible people, and we'd have to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn to trust. And that's really hard when you've
It's
gone
tough.
through a bad relationship, is
Yeah.
to learn how to trust again, right? We have to learn how to be trust and be patient.
A reporter asked me from WTOP, what is the most that I expect? And I said, I just want them to be honest. Just be honest. If you can't do it, say you can't do it. Don't blow smoke up our butts. Be honest with the fan base. And after you're honest with us, give us a reason or what you want to try to do to fix it. Honesty, as they always say, is the best policy. Tim, thank you for showing up, man. We really appreciate it.
Man, it's an honor to be here with you two fellas.
It's great
I
to see you.
appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I mean, we see you at the games, but I'm busy.
Yeah.
Don't get a chance to really talk and hang out. So this is great. And
One last question for you. Will you be at opening day?
Oh, come on now.
Hey, I got
Come on now, Ralph. You do better. Oh, yeah.
I gotta ask.
I'm there. I would not miss that. If I couldn't get a ticket for some reason, I'd be in the parking lot. I'd be at Ted's tailgate, and we're gonna have a good old time.
there's no reason you can't get a ticket. I
yeah.
got 4.
Yeah.
One has always got your name on it.
I appreciate that,
Seriously.
fellas. Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
Appreciate you, man.
We'll
Thank
see you in a
Ted.
few weeks.
Definitely. We'll see you.